Yo guys, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's your main man here, half up here with Red Devil Studio. We're gonna try and break down this whole The Boys season two. Because obviously I was just gonna just do it myself, but obviously I heard that Red Devil was an avid watcher of the whole show as well. And then we said, you know what, let's do this together. Did you know that Shaquille O'Neal wants to be part of the show? Because basically they were doing like New York Comic Con, like
Yeah.
the panel, and then like halfway through the guy says, like the Chris says, "Oh, we have like a special guest," and then Shaq just comes in and he basically asked him a question, but he says that no, he wants to be part of the seven, so
Is
he wants
he
to be part of the
is he
show.
is he gonna do like a cameo Steel or something? Like Steel from the 90s and just come
Yeah,
in.
who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe he says he wants to be part of it, so we just have to see. So look, so basically, we're going to break this down into different sections. I think first of all, we're going to just do a review of the episode itself.
Fine.
So of the final episode, again, big things that were revealed and so forth. Then we'll then look at a review of season two as a whole, and then we'll then look at who our favorite characters were this season. Favorite characters and also favorite characters, and then we'll then do like maybe what we want to expect for season three. So we'll just break it up in those few things. So guys, obviously in the comments, if you want to ask any questions, throw any questions through, we'll answer your questions. And keep this in mind. Let me just be very clear here. Spoilers. If you haven't seen all the episodes, don't watch this. We are going to spoil everything. So be very, very clear here. This is a spoiler field of The Boys. This is the people who've watched all the episodes, so are spoiling the living heck out of this whole thing. So you've been warned, spoilers ahead. So I think let's just first review the episode in question, man. So I think it was me who actually said to you that, when the heads were exploding, we were wondering who it was.
Yeah.
And then you said
Yeah.
that it was the chick who was in the superhero asylum.
Yeah.
Well, no one saw this coming. So
Oops.
obviously it's the who is she? She's like a political
Newman, yeah. Newman, that's her name, I think.
Newman. Yeah, I think it's Vanessa Newman. So
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. So my thing about it is that, what do you think her agenda is? So she's obviously a soup who no one knows.
Yeah.
So she's obviously fully embedded into the system. So
Yeah.
my thing is that, is her aim to bring down Vought? Is her aim to sort of gain control? Because she's obviously trying to do something through the political system, so not to be seen. So my thing is that, what do you think her goal is?
So this is the thing about the Boys. I mean, such a great meta political commentary that, as like you said, I didn't see that coming at all. I thought it was Cindy. Goodness knows where she is, by the way.
Yeah, because she's like on the loose. She's on the loose, yeah.
On the loose somewhere, So, but actually, like looking back, and I look back and think about it. When I go back to, and I know when I'm focusing on this episode, but when I actually look back at some of the things, it does kind of make sense. And personally, what I think, from what I understand, is that I think that she actually works for Vought. I think she's actually for Vought. I think she's actually an insider for Vought. She works for Newman, Edgar. But essentially, this whole season, in a sense, has been the idea about trying to control the narrative. Trying to control the narrative so that you can then control the masses through media and distortions, etc. So in a way, what happened is that basically Edgar, I'm sure, knew that as soon as the Compound V thing got leaked out from the first season, that things were going to pop off. Eventually, things were going to. So I think what essentially happened, what Vought did, was say Vought, not speak Edgar, but Vought did, is that they created this narrative. Okay, you saw it a bit with Stormfront. We're anti-Vought. We're going to create this.
Yeah.
So and she spearheaded that. This Vanessa Newman person to try and get people on board, the people suspicious, conspiracies, etc. On the other hand, you have the other side, who Stormfront was rallying the people who were, in quote, right wing, who Vought more superheroes, etc. And essentially, in a sense, Vought secretly controlled both narratives. They controlled the right narrative in terms of we need more superheroes, get Compound, be more, etc. And they also controlled the left narrative, which is we need to control supes, etc. Because essentially what you now have is that now that she's got this political power governance, you now have someone in govern. Because if you remember back into the first episode when the first person like popped up ahead, she said something like, "It's a coup from the inside. It's a coup from the inside."
Because my thing is that I forgot what the name of the lady is, the Latino government lady who was sort of helping them. I think she was the first one who had her head popped off when they were in the car park.
Yeah, at the start of the first
So my thing is that why would she go after her? Like, how was she a threat towards Vought? Because she was so low level, not really on the radar, that why kill her?
Because I think she knew, she seemed to figure out that what we're trying to do is essentially, I think what we're trying to get into government, because this whole idea of trying to like get Compound V supported, get support from the military, etc. All these things that required government backing, they obviously had to get through government. Vought didn't actually have anyone on the inside. So essentially, now that Vought has someone on the inside, in the case of this Vanessa Newman lady, like they can now basically control the narrative on the inside and on the outside at the same time. And essentially, they can create a coup inside and control it. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no. I mean, basically, no, because I think obviously I think I'm going to sort of come back to this when we look at season 3, because my thing about it is, okay, so what would now be the plot of season 3? Because I could understand it if she was an enemy towards Vought. So she has her own separate agenda as a supervillain separate to Vought. But if you know that she's combined with Vought, my thing is that, so what would now be the kind of a log line of the plot for season 3? But obviously we'll get there. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about, so the big moment was, I think the thing about it is that when I think back in hindsight, I'm like, well, look at how season 1 ended. There's always going to be that. And I think this might be the show's MO. You're going to have like a shocking death at the end of each season. So I didn't think they'd kill Butcher's wife. But then when you see what happened at the end of season 1, because basically, put it this way, like when the kid just did the whole beam thing, I was like, that's a massive beam.
Yes.
so basically, that's like flipping Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan Goku beam. So how the heck are you going to do that beam and only kill Stormfront but not harm your mom at all?
Yeah.
So when that happened, do you know what I thought would even this would never happen because it doesn't fit the story, but what I thought would have been crazy is if like he does that whole beam thing, Butcher gets pissed off, he grabs like the crowbar and just like backs the kid. I mean, so were you expecting that to happen? Were you shocked when that? No, because I think I knew Stormfront was basically, once he did that, I knew Stormfront was going to be killed. I know that was like
is Stormfront dead though? I don't think Stormfront's dead. Stormfront is like she's been maimed, yes, but she's been put away into some, like she's out of the picture for now. But I don't think Stormfront is dead. Because like, you saw on the ground she was speaking German, etc. She'll recover. She'll be like, it's just that she's now out of the picture.
Because you see, that's my thing. Because again, it's almost like with I think it's Kimiko, who she's got like regeneration powers.
Yeah.
Does Stormfront have regenerative powers? She can live for a long time, and she's got special powers. She can live for a long time, but does she have regenerative powers like Kimiko? That's my thing.
I think all supes to a lesser certain extent have regenerative. I guess it depends on how they're killed.
I don't think so. No. I think like for Kimiko, like obviously she's like an amazing fighter, but I think.
Well, because you remember the episode where Homelander was zipping her. Like that. Like
True,
and that was the power of Homelander. You know, so.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
Okay, so my thing about it is, let's talk about the kid, because my thing is he's obviously going to be a major thing. So, how do you think the whole kid angle was handled? Because I thought that was handled pretty well, because it was like initially Butcher was like, nah, man, which is what made that ending so good.
Yeah,
because Butcher was like, because I was even saying to myself that this is why I didn't even want you in the picture. because it's your fault, you know. So he doesn't see a kid there. He just sees this soup that just pretty much killed the only person that he loved.
But did you think, and going back, and I'm to rest of the point, but like if you go back into the episode when like Butcher made the deal with Edgar, where he was like, right, we are gonna mean that the wife are gonna go somewhere, and you sort out the kid. Like, I think it's credit to how the story is written, how the character plays, because I genuinely thought that because Butcher's such an asshole, I genuinely thought he was gonna do that. I genuinely
he was going to do. Oh,
so I think he was going to so go along with Vogt's plan, which is like, you know, let the Vogt soldiers take the kid away, and that he would then go with his wife.
I think that because, again, judging by how the show is so alternative and not Hollywood, I would have thought that they would have gone further with that angle of Butcher being like, no, I'm going to put this kid away. I'm going to go with the woman, but something happens through the turn of events. Basically, she gets pissed at that. What, you really were going to... And then something just happens in turn of events where he just has to now change last minute. So I thought they would have gone further on with the Butcher being like, no, I am actually going to just put this kid to one side, bring you along with me. But so, because again, like, it's not really for his character, because he, from the get-go, we're like, he hates soups so much. Yeah. Has such a disdain for them, and he was proven right. Based on, like, it was a soup that killed the only woman that I loved.
Yeah.
So so we've got the kid. Huey. So my thing is, because this is what I was thinking to myself, do you think he's possibly in danger working for the Newman lady?
I mean, this is what I'm saying, when it goes back to, like, this is what, if I'm right, this is very, very clever, in that I think that this Newman lady, basically, you know, ever since if you go back early in the episode, I think in the season, I think it was maybe season 5, when like Edgar sends Black Noir, who we need to talk about, by the way. We need to talk about Black Noir. We need to talk about, but later. He sends Black Noir onto Butcher, and he's like, blah blah blah, and then Butcher's like, I've got this video stuff, shows him towards it, leaked, blah blah, and then he calls Black Noir off. What I think is that, because Newman obviously was working with the boys, Newman was working with the inner circle, so Newman knows Newman, all that stuff like that. So the way that I kind of see it is that now effectively Vought has, like I said, Vought controls now all the different factions, you know. So they obviously got rid of the church, the collective, who obviously were a threat to Vought. That's the only reason why she would blow up that the treasure guy, because the church had a lot of information on Suits.
I mean, I think because I like the actor so much and he did such a good job, I would have liked that. Because again, maybe we'll get to characters that didn't really work too well and so forth. Because I've got issues with the Deep and everything, but I thought
who doesn't have issues with the Deep, man?
Horrible character. But I liked his character so much that it would have been really good to still have him on the periphery for season 3. But I get, I mean, see, what makes it interesting now is we'll obviously get this, that so much of the threats have gone that, wow, okay, what is your story going to be for season 3? If you've literally just decimated any of the threats that you've had, and everything just seems...
I think it ties. I think, not everybody, I think that we're going to talk about Homelander, because I still have Homelander's a G, but like, I thought a lot of it is going to be on Homelander's descent towards madness. Because if we look, I mean...
Let's just say he was masturbating on the top of a building. So basically, you know, like at the end of Batman 89, you see Michael Keaton at the top. Just replace that with a guy literally masturbating. Basically, I was laughing my face off, man.
I could do what I want, and you're like, man, this guy.
No, but you know what I've always said is, like, every time I see, because I've actually gotten my sister onto it, so my sister has sort of like been hooked into it as well. But I would say that I think is Anthony Starr, the guy who plays Homelander, man. That guy is a quality actor.
Brilliant actor.
His acting is just so on point. It's so on point. Because like I'm always extra impressed whenever there are guys who aren't like American, who do their accents, and they do their accents so on point. Because, and that's the funny thing is like, Anthony Starr and Carl Urban, they're both new from New Zealand, So, and people say, "Oh my gosh!" Like, look, it is what it is. American actors just aren't as good as the English guys, New Zealand guys, and it is what it is because these. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the characters afterwards. So so let's clean up season 2. So we've talked about Huey, talked about Storm.
We haven't really talked about Stormfront. That
So yeah. I mean, look. Basically, what's it called? That was a crazy scene, with basically the chick fights.
When all the girls, man, just I mean, I took a lot.
Those blows were brutal. Those blows were. I was like, geez, but basically, this is the most brutal chick fight I've ever seen. Because at one point, I'm like laughing because okay, there's a chick fight. I said, wait, this is I'm seeing blood. Her neck being snapped, and she was basically being pummeled and kicked over. So
it was coming though. It was coming.
No. It was also
satisfaction from that. Just seeing her beat the shit out of her. Because I don't think she'd ever had a beat down at all.
Never. No. That was a serious beat down. And I think the key thing was when Maeve came in. I think Maeve really just came in and just drove that through. So So and also I mean, that was the one as well. The when Maeve, when Maeve comes at the end scene. And then she's like, you're going to have to, you're going to go because you're going to understand. And I was saying to myself that, do what? And when she shows the thing, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That's a good move.
I mean, a part of me was like, dude, why don't you just like laser, like, are you taking the chance that she has backups? Just laser the damn thing from a phone or something. Like, just laser, like, what evidence? You know what I mean? Or do something like that. I don't know.
No. Say, unless she's stupid. Like, we're in 2020.
Yeah.
Whenever you have, let's say, evidence, memory stick, external hard drive, cloud. It's just because nobody in 2020 is going to have serious evidence and you don't have backup. Like if we're in the 90s, then it's all I have is paper file. But my gosh, there's somebody. So he knew that, look, something this important that she's hanging over him. But my thing though is that, okay, let's say it goes out. Or maybe it's a case of like Homelander, like he is crazy, he's mad, but the only thing that would literally turn him over the edge is if everybody turns against him. Because remember when he was with the kid in Stormfront, he still likes the vibe. He likes the love. And if he loses that, as fake as it is, he will literally go mad. Because that's the only thing he has that is keeping him just slightly sane.
That's why, to be fair to him, like, I mean, as much as obviously he's played in a way as a character you hate him. I'm not gonna lie, like that last scene when you see his son go to Butcher and like it just and he obviously looks down at Stormfront and he sees the evidence of the phone. It almost just like dawns on him that in one full moment he's just lost effectively everything. And then obviously Maeve is basically like, this is literally the only thing you have left in a way, and you see the tears coming from his eyes and you're just like, because in some parts of the season, you did see some of the tender moments towards his son. There were there, and you're like, man, dude, like, it's shit. I'm sorry, So it is what it is, But it just goes to show how good of an actor like he is. That like he can play this character where like he does at some point show this genuine emotion where for a brief moment you do have a bit of sympathy for the guy, and then suddenly you go into a cabin and you have all these vault guards.
But I'll be real with you. Like, I have. It's like I like him, but in a very weird way. I think I like Homelander just as a character. I have zero sympathy for him. I'm like, no, you're mad. I just like him as a character. Like, if I knew him in real life, oh no, you're a piece of shit. But just as a character, he's like he's just a really, really good character. So let's now move on now to review of the whole season then. Specifically, because I want to do first review of the season, then compare it to season 1, which season 1 I just thought was incredible. So let's just look at the season 2 as a whole. So let me just start off and then we can pick through. very different from season one. But I just think if I was to review this as a whole, I think it's definitely got better as it went through. The issue, my main issue with season two is the deep storyline, the collective storyline. I thought that was just, it just sort of dragged. It wasn't really going anywhere, and I just wasn't really feeling that storyline too much. But
Deep's useless, man. Deep. I mean, I don't know. Apparently, in the comics, that he's written in that way to basically be a useless character and to be a pun on Aquaman, who's not as useless now, but that's supposed to be his.
Oh yeah.
So he's just a useless character. So, but to be fair to the Deep, he was the one that obviously got the camera for Maeve and the evidence and stuff like that in the first place.
Yeah.
That was him, and he got A-Train into the collective in the first place, who then obviously got to swipe the files. So in a way, like, if it wasn't for the Deep, then like indirectly, like, then none of these things would have happened in the first place.
True.
Yeah, so he was useful.
He was useful, but he's still useless.
But he's useless, exactly.
He's still useless. No, but I think this season, like, I think basically, if you just to look at good points, bad points, I think really the great points of this season was, you see, here's the thing, because that's why I always like to look at like the comic, because I remember even before this whole TV series, whenever I go to my local comic store, I always used to see the comic always on the front thing and everything, but I just never read it, because I think that, you see, this was really about Stormfront. That was the real backbone of this season. She was the villain, and she was the real driving force of everything that happened. Everything just sort of went through her. Because again, she was connected to Homelander. She was connected to the boy. She was connected to Kimiko. So she sort of connected everything.
Yeah.
And even Homelander's kid as well. I understand why they made her female, because I think it worked for what they were trying to do, specifically the weird sexual relationship that she had with Homelander. But do you think, and like, I have nothing against the actress, because she...
Oh, hello? HH?
Neo-Nazi superhero is actually quite a crazy concept. So do you think... So, with regards to Stormfront, do you think that storyline sort of worked for this and so forth? Like, so in relation to her storyline, how she was portrayed and everything with regards to this season?
Like, initially, yes. Like, it's weird because at the start, especially with her interaction with Starlight, and I've got and saying things like, I've got plans for you and all these different things, and her initial antagonism to Vought, and her standing up to Homelander, I was kind of like, okay, this is a character like that can like hold her own, you know what I mean? That can can go to like, suddenly we've got someone who's not afraid of Homelander because he was obviously terrifying everybody. Suddenly we've got someone who's taking on Vought. Suddenly, so you've got a real, in my mind, the first episode, I thought that she was going to be more of a like a third party, like a third party character who was going to basically be like against Vought and against Homelander and really kind of shake things up. Although, I haven't read the comics, so I'm going in from that, so I'm aware of them. So I was a bit disappointed, so that I knew that I read that she was a Nazi, but even then I thought, okay, maybe they still might go down that, okay, Homelander in one corner, Stormfront in another corner, and Vought in another corner, and that kind of thing, and strong thing. But instead, they obviously they brought up the Nazi thing. I was like, okay, that's fine. So Nazi coming out, but then I think her then tie relationship to Homelander, where initially it was like, oh, she's standing up to Homelander. Now it's like, well, you're sucking up to this guy, So that was a bit kind of okay. Now you're Homelander's new girl, basically. That's kind of what you've always been reduced. And then with the whole reveal about Vought, so like, okay, so you've gone from the anti-Vought to like, actually, no, I'm sort of supporting Vought and I want to go the agenda. And then the Nazi side, like, I get the what they're trying to portray, but there were times when it was like a bit. I think there was one scene even in this episode when she goes to Ryan, and it's like, we've got to stop the white genocide.
Oh,
even Homelander's like,
no. I actually rewound because I had the same expression. I was like, what?
What?
Homelander's like, what? It's like, yeah, I know I'm a prick, but like, wait, where the hell did that come from? It's like, what? What's it's like, this is a kid.
Exactly. You know you messed up when even Homelander's going.
Yeah, Homelander's like, okay, yeah. I know I'm the devil, but are you like an extra devil? Yeah. See, my thing about this, and I think it's so good that you hit at that point. It would have been a better, more interesting angle if you now have someone who is separate from Homelander. So somebody who's even crazier than Homelander and is taking the whole concept of the superhero through a darker, more messed up angle.
What I was hoping was that she was actually linked to the Church of the Collective. So the Church of the Collective, because in my mind I was thinking, their recruitment of superheroes and stuff like that, getting them back into Seven, that they wanted to try process that she was actually the top member or whatever, the Church of the Collective, infiltrating them for power to exuberate their ideologies, which would be this white supremacy, genocide. That for me would have been a much more of it, because obviously one, it ties to the dangers of religion and bits and pieces, stuff like that as well, but also it would make the Church of the Collective, it would have made them much more of a relevant third-party force in terms of getting ideology. So you have like religious fanatics with ideas who want to jump on the soup bandwagon versus corporate capitalists versus everyone else and so on. And I thought that would have been a good. Instead, the church are now irrelevant. Stormfront was just weird. And now, and you're left with Homelander masturbating, on top of a tower.
No, because I think because the threat of Stormfront was sort of, because put it this way, like, when she basically killed Kimiko's brother like that, I was like, I hate this woman. So you were like, and I think just because there was something
even that scene when she's Liberty back in the 70s or something, when I think I was just like, can someone take this girl out now?
And I think that hate was taken away when she pretty much was in love with Homelander.
Exactly.
So that whole love interest softened the kind of threat and the danger that she posed, which is why I say that in the comic, Stormfront is a man, because I saw the picture of it. And I think that if you now have a Stormfront where there's just a guy who is just a crazy neo-Nazi guy, that is a very crazy concept for like a superhero. So I was like, So moving on beyond there. So with regards to the boys, how do you think they were portrayed for this season, as in just that group? And I think, because obviously we saw Starlight and Huey get closer. And here's my big beef. I call him Hazard. You obviously know who Hazard is.
Frenchie.
Yeah, he's Hazard. It's ridiculous. Like, every semester I know this is Hazard's cousin or something. But my thing is that has always been one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, likewise.
And he was he was my favorite character in season 1. Now my favorite character is now Huey. So my thing is that, because here's my thing, and I'll say how I think. I think they're doing the Frenchie character a disservice with his whole Kimiko, blah blah, blah. Whereas I know this is the tool guy. This is the guy that can create things. This is because whenever you have like your band of brothers, you have the guy who is good with the weapons. So, and he's that guy which was presented very well in season 1.
I did think him, and I've even forgotten the black guy's name. That's how I felt like he was so put in the background. Frenchie at least. And we'll come on to it in a second, but when Lamplighter got introduced, then and I was like, actually, the history and stuff like that, I thought that might actually develop, that might branch from what you were talking about, which is the whole Kimiko thing, that, we get to sort of see a bit more about Frenchie, the background, the sort of how they resolve things, blah, blah, blah. I felt that storyline got resolved maybe a bit too quick. Maybe it could have been tied on into season 3, maybe especially having like maybe Lamplighter, instead of just him end up being burned, maybe Lamplighter actually somehow getting into the 7, and then you have that kind of disorder, like him trying to get. Because
that was an interesting character. I mean, look, it was a shocking thing that happened.
More interesting than the Deep, for goodness sake. You killed Lamplighter off, and you kept the Deep alive.
I'll be real with you. Like, they should have just killed off the Deep. Like, I mean, there's nothing to the guy's character, man. There's absolutely nothing. And also that whole thing with where you saw his
It's the
insides and he was.
gills or
I was like,
something.
okay, guys, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? No, but it's true. Like,
You
what's
are
it called?
so beautiful. It's just strange.
Mother's Milk, man. Look.
Mother's milk, yes.
Okay, can we just be real? Okay, let's just be real. Whenever there are black characters, I want to support, and I feel the need to support. But I'm not going to be bullied into supporting a character because let's just be real. He's just there to be black.
Black Noir was more interesting than Mother's Milk, man. And Black Noir barely said anything this whole whole season.
Black Noir that's a great character, and also even how he was put down. That was because it makes sense because he's so tough, so impenetrable. The only thing you could put him on that is his food allergy.
Question, and I want to move on. Who do you think he is? Who do you think he is? Because there's some theories thinking that maybe he's actually Vogt's son. Edgar's son, potentially. Like, how did he? Because he's clearly strong. He's clearly like even at times I'm thinking like, is this guy? This guy even match Homelander? Yeah, I get he was overpowered by Maeve, but Maeve had to use the nut allergy to overpower him.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she overpowered him in the hand-to-hand kind of sort of thing. Was that she used the nut allergy? So clearly he's got some super strength. So. Some people saying he's maybe a clone of
it's. I mean, hard to say. To be honest, if I was writing it, I would keep hinting, but I would keep it a mystery, because the best thing about the character is he's mysterious. So for me, I would he hints here, if you notice it, but I would no, he's always a mystery, because that just adds to what his character is. If we know too much about him, it loses the power of the character, because it's that is what makes him so fearful.
We know he's actually black now. Cause
yeah. I mean, also because I follow them on Instagram, so I know what the guy looks like and everything. So I was like, okay, he's this black and everything. And also why? Pet peeve. Why does every black character be okay? Black Panther, Black Noir, Black Dynamite. Come on. So, but
we had A-Train, So
but see, and I'll talk about A-Train after. But you see, my thing with Mother's Milk is that he's just there to be black. Let's just be real. He's just there to be black. And you see, Laz Alonso, who's the best actor, decent actor. And also, he was in Avatar. Obviously he was one of the blue guys in Avatar. But look, he's a good actor. But the character, there's nothing interesting about the character. He's just there to be black. And that's it. It's
he felt a bit more interesting in season one as the more of the kind of he came across as more of the voice of reason for the entire group. So he was the sort of the one that kind of you felt could kind of.
And okay, you know what? Okay, let me pick on that, because I'm so happy you brought it up. I hate, and this is my issue with trying to be interesting with black characters. Black characters, they're either the comedians, funny, or the voice of reason. It's hey guys, cool down. No. I'm
chill,
why can't black characters just be interesting? Quirky, like that. It's for me, why I like Huey and Frenchie is they are quirky, they are different, they're a bit alternative. There's something Huey, he listens to Billy Joel, so there's something just idiosyncratic about his character. And I just think that's Mother's Milk, I just think that it's hard though, because you think of what he needed to be given something, because almost Butcher, Frenchie, Huey, even Kimiko, there's something about them, and they provide something.
It's because he the thing is everyone what makes Mother's Milk unique in that sense that everyone there has some degree of substantial loss, whereas Mother's Milk still has his wife and his child, I bet, in protective custody to hold on to. So he still has that. So I don't feel I'm not saying he hasn't suffered, but I don't feel he's still got that protection there. And so it would be, and so the reason why a lot of those kids are quirky and interesting is because, we obviously learned that Frenchie, his friend drug overdose, and his girl, the girl that was with was more messed up, and then the whole kid thing, and all of them have tons of issues. We obviously we should probably, if we have time, talk about the whole thing with Butcher and his dad, Because that
Oh
was
yeah,
messed
yeah, yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. That was messed up. Yeah, it was messed up. That was messed up. That was messed up.
He goes in like, your brother was weak. Fuck him.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I think that's the thing on my book. Where so a part of me feels like if they're gonna make Mother's Milk is in a weird way, it's something interesting. They've got to basically do something to his kids and his mom. When they're out of the way by whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe it might be this. They get the head popped off by this the soup thing.
Yeah.
Then you probably will get the best out of Mother's Milk, if that makes any sense. Maybe that's my 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I want to now look at comparisons, season 1 against season 2. And here's where I stand. Season 1, amazing. Absolutely amazing, And I just think that what was so amazing about season 1 was this is almost like basically like Watchmen, but more extreme of we are having a very realistic take on superheroes. As in really realistic, not like the whole Dark Knight pseudo realistic, no, really realistic. We're like, this is like a drama now, where these guys feel like real characters. So it's sort of like, let's just really humanize guys, superpowers,
Yeah.
And I think that in season 2, it's veered into more superhero territory. And my thing about this is that I think season 2 was still great, and season 2 still got better as it went through. And I think that season 2 still maintained the shock value, the violence, the intensity, and the whole. Like, you remember when they drove into the whale, and like Huey was just sitting down inside the whale with the blood. But Huey was like, "Look, I'm just gonna just rest you," because he was like, I have somehow." But yeah, that was funny. One thing is that. Again, I'll ask you guys what you think. Like, season 1 just felt more like, oh, this is an interesting take on superheroes. As in, you're really going into the drama of them. That yes, there are superpowers, but the superpowers are sort of, they take like a backseat to the whole issues with them. And here's the thing. In season 1, I was far more interested. As much as I liked the boys and they were cool, I was more interested in the dynamics of the 7 than I was with what the boys. Even if it's called the boys, I was more interested in. Oh my gosh, like Homelander, the what's the name of the guy, the peeping Tom who hid in the women's bathroom. That's Huey.
The what's his translucent.
Translucent. Like I was like, oh, that's such a. He's basically like a flipping pev, that's using his superpowers to be a pev. So season 2 was still very good. I still liked it. I prefer season 1 to season 2 because I felt that season 1 really maintained that kind of real, grounded, organic reality all the way through, as opposed to season 2. And I think season 2, as good as it was, sometimes it just veered off the rails and it's veered away from what made season 1 so good, which is that now we're trying to really make these characters as real and as authentic as possible.
I mean, I agree with you. Some of it, I think. Some of the maybe artificial enjoyment might have come from the swap of format, because obviously in the first for the first season it was just all released together, binge watch, etc.
Yeah,
and the sort of the episodic release of the thing, maybe it just felt a bit psychologically, in a way, it felt a bit more drawn out because it was drawn out because you're watching episode, So I don't know whether that was the thing and played into things, but I thought that affected me anyway. But in regards to the actual story, I agree with you. I think that in part that is just because of the story, because at the end of the season 1, effectively the 7 are, even though Homelander obviously did what he did at the end of season 1, the 7 are still effectively there. It's weird, like they're a broken team, but they're keeping up with appearances. So the start of season 1, you're like, oh, this is the 7. Oh, look at them. You see this team that basically look like they could just get away with anything. But at the end of season 1, it's like this is effectively a broken team. A-Train is gone. Translucent has been killed. Maeve is like, it's just carrying this rage and pissed off at Homelander, Alana, all the rest of it. Starlight is working with something. So, the whole of season 1, you saw this team that on the surface looked great and felt were just getting away with what they were doing, basically just descend.
Yeah.
And so at the start of season 2, you're thinking, oh, right, come back in or whatever, but it just ends up disintegrating. And so I think the thing with season 2 is that, like, I don't think it was more about, the 7 anymore, because frankly, there wasn't really a 7 really.
Yeah.
It was more about seeing how, it was more, as you said at the start, about like Stormfront and how she basically connected to everything. And basically, I think this was an insidious kind of. I think this was more about Vought. To be frank, this was a Vought.
Yeah.
A Vought came more into the forefront. I bet insidiously. Than they did.
Okay. I'll be real with you. It's like, I mean, let's talk about it. I don't know how I feel about the whole Compound V elements, and whether that's helped or detracted from the storyline. Because as you said, season 2 was very much about, okay, Compound V, this whole thing, it's a cover up. They're not really superheroes, all this kind of stuff. So it was just given into them, and going. So it was that kind of stuff. Whereas like season 1 was just more focused, and I get it, because on the one hand, I can say, could it have detracted because it's maybe got a bit too convoluted, but on the other side, it's expanded on the storyline, and it's gave it an extra kind of edge and an angle with regards to, okay, how are they now going to react to this whole Compound V coming in? Because
at the end of season 1 and for most of season 1, you are thinking, you're thinking Homeland is the main bad. Everyone's afraid of him. He's scary. He kills the thing. Homelander is a sort of. At the end of season 2, you're like, Homelander's a dick. You're like, Homelander's a dick, but you're not like Homelander's the big bad anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, he's a dick. He's got various issues, but is he really the main villain, the big overseer of things? No, he's not. Like, it's Vought, So
and that's the thing. I think that is where I enjoy this season 1, where Vought being the main villains, I'm like, I've seen that before. The big corporation and the suits and everything, I've seen them before. What we haven't seen before is a guy who presents to the world that I'm Superman. I'm Clark Kent. But in beneath, I'm actually a really horrible human being, and I'm actually really messed up. And I think that it works far better if Homelander, this is the villain. So how are you going to defeat the strongest person on the planet who can be unhinged? And the whole, which is why, like, what makes things interesting is the whole David Goliath concept. So the boys, these are our protagonists. They don't have any superpowers. And how can they, without any superpowers, fight a villain who is the most strongest human being on the planet? And that is where the juice lies into that. What can they do to go up against the insurmountable?
That's why I think season 3 will be interesting, because obviously it's going to be going back to Homelander, and that, I feel that, like, Homeland, you see at the end of like, Homelander is unstable, like more unstable than he was. Obviously, he killed at the end of season 1. He killed his love interest, this mother figure who he had a relationship with. I mean, we're gonna talk about Homelander's sexual thing, because at the start, of the season,
no. I almost forgot. You reminded me. that flipped me open, because for me, as well, I said, so she's not dead.
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
She was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, so wait a minute. I know it's a woman, but it's still essentially a man. But it's a man that turned to a woman, but she's a woman here, but she's really a man. It's like that just flipped my mind open. I was like, what? Because he's obviously into milk and breast milk and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Just the weird shapeshift is like, turn back, and you're like, geez, man, this.
Oh, that was wild, man. That was wild. Okay. So look, just for our final section, then, before we get out of here, let's look at looking ahead to season 3. So I think season 3, the big thing is going to be the kid and Newman.
Okay.
So my thing is, I think really it's going to be about the boys are sort of all dispersed and they're all living their lives and stuff, and something brings them back in. So my thing is that maybe they're going to introduce a new character or a new element that forces them to now come back in as one. So obviously you're going to see Huey's obviously going to be working the whole political campaign with the whole thing. Frenchie and Kimiko will be doing their own thing, dancing. Mother's Milk will be with the fam, and yeah, Butch is just going to be by himself, pretty much, So my thing is, and so it's obviously it has to involve Homeland because Homelander is really the lightning rod that really combines everything. So is Newman against Homelander? Is she going to launch a thing against Homelander? Like, I mean, where do they go from? Because I feel Homelander and the kid are going to. Here's the thing: Homelander wants to find the child because that is the one thing that he really can connect with.
But he said, but that was the thing that May's threat is that you got to stay away from them all. You got to
unless she release that thing.
If Homelander does find him, then like personally for me, obviously the season 3 will start with Newman. If my theory is correct in that I think that Newman is basically undercover for Vought into government basically, then what you're going to see is that it's going to continue the storyline of anti-Vought sentiments, whilst at the same time monitoring what's going on in government, etc., soup terrorists and so on and so forth. You're going to see you're going to see Homelander, I think, continue to be pushed towards the edge. So I don't think that he'll necessarily go on front. I think that because it's clear that Edgar, Edgar sees Homelander as just like commercial revenue, etc. Like he's just that's what it seems. But he needs to keep Homelander on the leash. So he's already got even though like he doesn't know where the kid is. Like the kid's away, so that's problem dealt with, number one. And now with this person in government, with her in government, she now has it's an interesting thing though. Just before I go into that, when the senator Vanessa Newman or whatever, when she was on the stage when Homelander, remember when early in the season when Homelander sort of started mocking her and saying,
yeah.
And you could see her like she always, and if you actually see anytime Homelander's in the room with her and all the time, like she's always looking at him, like keeping her eyes on him directly, like because her powers obviously need. I'm like, is she doing that because she's like, I could pop this motherfucker's head off at any moment in time, and I'm keeping and Edgar like so many times, like I think you'd see him like watching her on the news, like just watching her, like watching her.
So my thing then is that. So she knows she can.
She knows she can.
But why doesn't she? So the thing of why doesn't she is maybe your theory is right of like she's working with a Vought and she realizes how important. And you see, here's my thing about it is that there has to be like because that is almost like an unbeatable power.
But and this is the thing.
Or has she used that against a soup or only human beings? Can she do that against a soup?
Can she do it against a soup? Did she do it against any soup?
Has she ever done it against a soup? Because you see, if I was a writer, I would say that.
I don't think so.
That she can't do it against soups. She can only do it against human beings.
But I guess it means that do Vought want their soups destroyed? I mean, it goes for me. This both seasons were trying to. Obviously, it's a sort of a meta commentary of like the days and times and things and stuff. And so in season 1, it was the idea of this, American hero, what you're going to follow, what's really going on, etc., meta sort of. Whereas I feel like with this season, their kind of meta analysis was essentially trying to sort of say that, at the end of the day, like corporations and governments or political sort of figures essentially work hand in hand to control the narrative. So yes, it may feel that they're at odds with each other, whether it's left or right, etc. But at the end of the day, the narratives are generated from the corporation, from the politicians, so that they can come together and work. And so you essentially, that was for me what I took from the whole entire season was that, and was evidenced by the end of the show, was that Vought effectively were controlling the narrative of both sides. Your SJW liberalist agenda and your right wing, there's a white genocide agenda. Ultimately, for what? To make profit. And that's the thing. Making money is the most. So as far as for me, the simple reason why she didn't kill Homelander the soup is that Homelander, at the end of the day, is Vough's commodity.
Yeah.
You don't kill Homelander. You know, you don't like he. You know, you can't stand the guy, but he's your commodity.
But he is the emblem of the
he's the emblem of
superhero.
it. Exactly. You know, so you need to get that. All it literally comes down to is the control of money and resources, and getting that into government so that because I assume at some point they will. Whether they'll pass the law to get more supes in the military or something like or not, but at the same time, like just getting it's weird, it's crazy.
So my thing then is that because it's hard to know because again these guys are right to be like, what do you? Or better question, what would you like to see in season 3? I think for me, for season 3, I would want them to really push things to the next level. I definitely think that season 3 needs a new character. It needs a new kind of character, like to really shake things up. Whether it's a soup or whatsoever, it needs a new character to shake things up. And I think the kid is going to be there, but I don't want too much focus on the kid. But I think it's definitely has to be a case of I want them to go back to Homelander being a villain and being unhinged, and I think that
he's going to be more unhinged. I think in season 3, you know.
So I want more focus on basically. I want more focus on Homelander and seeing how this commodity, this thing that is really that pretty much holds the 7 together, is slowly going out of control. Because basically, as we've seen, Translucence got taken out. A-Train, he's out, he's in, he's out, he's in. So he's a bit iffy. Starlight, she's pretty much out.
What do you think of A-Train, by the way? Like,
don't like him.
I don't like this guy. I hate the guy. Like,
no. Basically, I hate the character. I hate the actor. Like, I literally hate everything about A-Train. The actor annoys me. His performance isn't good. I don't like the character. But it's so funny. Like, basically, the 2 black characters on it. You see,
Black Noir for me is the best black character.
Yeah, he is. Like, the Black Noir's amazing.
Black Noir.
No. Black Noir's amazing. So for me, I want them to try and sort of go back to because here we go. There we go. The lady, the crazy chick that got away, that's hitchhiked.
Oh, the one who from the prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cindy.
She's going to be involved.
Yeah. Okay.
She's going to be involved. I think yes, because we never really. The last time we saw was her hitchhiking. Yeah. So I think here's my thing is that yes, that element is going to be done of what she does, and maybe she's going to be like another kind of threat, and they may then enhance the whole supervillain elements to the whole thing. But what I want is go back to the kind of grounded nature of season 1. Yes, you could do your super and everything, but what makes this thing amazing and what sets it apart is the actors really get to act, and you really have strong, real, powerful scenes. And it's violent, it's raw, it's unhinged, but it's violent in a way that is very which is one the times where I go, oh geez, because the violence is so searing. So if they could just go back to that, I'm like, oh, remember that thing with the large penis or the mother's milk? That was just I was like, what the hell?
What the hell is going on?
So what do you want to see in season 3?
I want to see, I want to see Homelander essentially gradually sort of descend into madness, because I think that's what we see at the end of season 2. You know, he's in the 7, but let's be real, basically, he doesn't really have any power anymore, because Starlight, Homelander, because Starlight and Maeve were still there, basically have all the stuff over him. So he has to basically, and he now knows that Vought turned against him in terms of trying to take his kid away, etc. So it's like everyone he kind of sort of trusts or had to allegiance with has something on him. So basically, he's essentially powerless. Like not powerless in the sense of he doesn't have any powers, but powerless in the sense of he literally cannot do anything. Hence the wanking on the building.
Yeah.
You know, so So I think that I'd like to see such a situation where there's something that pushes him over the edge, possibly where like maybe midway through the season that the video that they keep using to sort of bait him actually gets leaked by somehow. So maybe, for example, what you might have is say the Maeve's girlfriend or something. Maybe she has like a copy of the video, for example,
and then she basically leaks it,
and she's the one who leaks it because she feels bad. She wants the truth to come out for what the whole thing
basically, do you know basically what would be crazy? What would be crazy is if by the end of season 3, he still has like his cape, but it's sort of like ripped, and he maybe just sort of like graffitis and just changes, and he's basically like a villain. He basically just turns fully bad, and right now he's literally now like a super villain. So we just see so then it's like that thing of season 1 from a superhero who's a bit sticky all the way descending. So because again, remember, he lost the mother type figure, lost like the love interest, and now he's now lost the love of his people. So we're now seeing the gradual because really I think, let's keep it real.
The thing is, Vought will have, and this is the thing with Vought, if they do go down that line, we keep on hearing until like Vought has contingency plans, and it's clear that I think at the start we're like, oh, the contingency plan is only the kid, for example. But it's clear that Vought and Edgar, I feel, have multiple contingency plans. And so I think one of the contingency plans was the kid. I think another contingency plan clearly seems to be this Newman lady. Personally, I think a third contingency plan is probably Black Noir. I feel like there is something about him that I'm like
a backstory.
Yeah, like possibly like he's because the Black Noir. It's clear to me that he's. We have never seen Black Noir and Stormlander like face off.
Yeah.
But clearly he seems to be it must be the second strongest in the 7.
Yeah.
Because aside from the nut allergy, obviously, which is an allergy, like he can clearly go toe to anybody, and he gets bombs, etc. He's fine. So I feel like at some point in the story we'll direct that Homelander just descent into madness, and then Vought will bring their contingency plan, and then you have the boys basically caught up in the middle of it. Like you're essentially what you might have is like you have this almost like civil war situation potentially that you might build up where you have like Homelander and maybe some of the supes or people that side with him, and then you have Vought and some of the other supes side with like Vought, for example, and then you have almost like a civil war, and you have the boys in the middle of it trying to do I think that might be interesting potentially, but that might be something that might have to be maybe a season 4 or 5 situation, but I could see a civil war type situation happening.
So okay, so just to round off then, so did you prefer season 1 or season 2, or both the same?
Season one, but it's like season 1 was better, but we're talking high levels here. Like season 2 for me was still an amazing show.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah,
very good show, and like it's the best like superhero series on TV or for a while. Like I can't think of many live action, even animated action superhero shows that are as good as this in terms of its acting.
Oh no, like this in terms of in terms of just writing, I can't think of many superhero TV shows or films that are better written than this. Just in terms of just writing and character, I can't think of many. Basically, I can't think of one that is better written or acted than this as a whole, as far as an acting ensemble and just as story, character, and character development. I can't think of a superhero thing that is, but specifically what they did with season 1. Like that stuff, it was so good, and it was shocking in the right way. Not shocking for shock, but the shocking moments really worked well. So just the way in which because I've always said, like, look, the whole superhero, my issue with superhero movies is not because I don't like it. I love superheroes. Everyone knows it. Just that it becomes very stale and repetitive.
Yeah.
What was needed was let's freshen it up, and let's just give it some real authenticity, and let's just make it organic, which is what they've always been missing. So look. So any final words before we get out of here?
It's like I said, it's a brilliant show, and for those who are in the comments, who haven't watched it, I would certainly recommend going binge watching season 1 and binge watching season. I didn't actually watch season 1 until I think about a month ago. I
Yeah,
think
same,
when it was
same,
on, and I
same.
was just like, "Oh, the boys, this is interesting." I just hadn't had the time to really, and I sat and I just kept on watching the entire weekend, and I was like, "This is actually very, very
No,
good."
yeah, no, because initially, because I kept on seeing it being, and that's one thing. Like the advertisements don't do a good job of portraying what it's about. Because how it was advertised was, oh, this is like a very cool kind of thing. I'm like, oh, this is another
Yeah.
superhero show. But
Yeah.
when you watch it, it is very different from how it's advertised. Like, it's older. This is like a very real character drama driven kind of show.
Exactly.
Guys, look, man. Let's jump up, man. So, guys, thank you, Red Devil, for being here, and maybe
worries.
we'll try and do another TV review or TV show review or something like very
that'd be
soon.
good.
All right,
That'd be
guys, peace out. Remember to like the vid, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the other one, man. Guys, peace out.
Peace out. See you.
Peace. Thanks for watching the vid, and don't forget to head to the official websites for extra cool content at halfhophot.com.